So it's unfortunate, but I've received this question a lot, and that is about abortion. And it's like, alright, fine, I might as well make a video about it. But I'll be honest, it's a pretty darn stinking dumb topic, with a lot of dumb debates behind it, and I'll explain why. Okay? So, the controversy, first of all, is for good reason, okay? Anything, if it's controversial in the world, usually is for good reason, but that's usually because there's some parts of truth in it that people don't want to see. Now, when I say truth in it, I'm not saying where exactly it is, but you best be rest assured that it is somewhere with nature. And when we look at the word abortion, we're looking at abolition of the baby. So if you were to apply abolitionism to a baby, you're basically saying, well, let's abolish something that's natural. So there's a lot of problems with that, but not even going into that, I'm going to explain other things. Okay, and of course my book Sapientia Naturae goes into many different examples, looking under all the different natures and how they interact, etc. But for this one's a very interesting case, okay? The way people debate it is just sort of laughable because it traps themselves in their own semantics. But yes, it is a troublesome scenario. So you have this scenario, right, where yes, people are pro-life, but people are pro-choice. People are both. There's no such thing as pro-life and pro-choice. Sorry to burst your bubble, but basically if you care about people's lives and you care about them living and growing, you're pro-life. If you care about people having freedom to make their own choices for their own body and for their own everything, anything that they own, and they're not a slave, they're free, then you are also pro-choice. So where are you supposed to stand if both of those positions are truthful, both of those positions are natural? Well, we're looking at a specific act here, right? Abortion, which has also been practiced many different times through all sorts of different types of history, but regardless, it's the same sort of action. It cannot be changed from an individual's own action. If they want to do it, they can do it. You can't stop someone from doing it. That's their natural freedom. Okay, to say, well, we can make an exception here is to say, well, okay, we can make slavery here. We can basically violate people's rights here. But you say, well, what about the rights of the baby? So that justifies somehow violating the rights of another individual? No rights should be violated. Why can't the pro-choice and pro-life messages both be promoted? I'll tell you why. Because people don't want to rely just on education. They want to rely on governments and politics and laws telling people what to do with their own bodies, one way or another, whether it's legal or illegal, but no freedom, right? No non-legal terms at all. It has to be within the realms of legal or illegal or life or choice, even though these are just dichotomies that trap us. Because the truth is, yes, everybody should be pro-life and everybody should also be pro-choice. Why not both? But again, it's because it's driven toward a political agenda. And by people putting more attention on this dichotomy that was created, well, guess what? More people are going to see this as an option, which in the natural world wouldn't have been, right? Especially if it's not a good option, and a lot of people say it's not good, and there's a lot of experience, there's less propaganda because things are less centralized. See, what we really need as a human species is freedom. And I've been saying it all along. All these other topics are just really just symptoms of the slavery that we're in. So whether you think it's good or bad doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that the education gets out of, well, just harm in general, of care of your own body. I mean, why are you getting pregnant in the first place? What makes you want to abandon your baby? Why aren't we asking these questions? And some people do, but then they still use the force of law to tell their neighbors and their friends and family what to do. You know, use some other people, this gang of people, these enforcers with their special badges and uniforms, or these people with their certain authority vested in them to carry out the will of you. Who gets to who says that you get to decide how everything should work? And you say, well, that's democracy. We get to do majority rule. Okay, well, how is that voluntary? You want an involuntary government? You still want somebody's will being imposed upon another. Is that not slavery? Tell me why it isn't slavery. Well, that's the real truth to this whole debate, is honestly looking at both sides, seeing the nature in both of them, and then seeing where both of them also violate nature, which is where they bring the government involved. And let me tell you, anytime people involve the government, anytime people involve legality, you betcha they're promoting slavery or some sort of unnatural condition. If you don't think so, well, check out my books and resources in the description below. There's a lot on this that maybe you've not been taught if you are a Republican or leftist or maybe libertarian or have a mind of your own. If you don't know what statism is, you better, rest assured, know what that is, because that's the one thing they don't want you knowing. That is the one thing that will break all power systems that will free everybody. And yes, they will have the choice to do whatever they want, right or wrong. Doesn't mean, though, that the wrong gets aggregated, because who is it that seeks power to begin with? And what do we see annually? This #1 cause of death, democide. What is that caused by? Governments, right? And what requires governments to be created? Do you ever question and just look on television? Just look at all the unnatural manifestations, from the suits and ties to the titles and appointments to the holy grail of text that people write. This must be worshipped, right? And this one person must be worshipped, and we must beg for change, because they're the ones that get to change the world, and everybody depends on them. They grant us our rights. Our rights are not God-given, or they are God-given, but there's an exception here, there's an exception there. Or we can be free, but there's an exception there, there's an exception there. What are you talking about? We need to be free, period. No in-betweens, no buts, no exceptions, right? That is what freedom is. And if you think that you need some sort of slave master, or some sort of piece of legislation that still comes from some sort of slave master, then you are participating in slavery. You have mental slavery. And that's the worst form. It's called statism. Look into it. I'll put 5 questions on the screen for you. And if you're new to it, I'll put some extra resources in the description below, like I said. Thank you very much.